Well, what was that all about then? How about, what on earth are we going to do about all this? Fanar, eh? Well, really, put it in there because it's opposite a train station and it may make a good TI venue future-wise. It did feature in the Vice documentary. Myself and Shane were interviewed there, and given that, you know, if things do start to rock and roll, and I will be back with you. Just wanted to make the point that the levels of pain I'm experiencing right now are through the roof, and consequently I'm tripping off with it somewhat. So this was yesterday. Well, it's August 2018. I haven't really been able to do much for the last 4 weeks. Essentially, I've been rather incapacitated. My head, as per usual, but my back has been, well, worrisome to say the least. However, although I've not been making videos, I did manage to show up at the TI meeting Tesh had organised, so well done Tesh on that. As everybody was pointing out though, I looked absolutely atrocious, and that's because of what I've been going through in not just recent weeks, recent months. But I have focused my attentions essentially on dealing directly with the authorities. I went to see my doctor this morning to explain the issue with my back, which is putting me on the floor. But having discussed it, we agreed that it was probably, in fact definitely, a waste of time referring me to a back specialist, because one, they wouldn't want to scan me because of what else they're going to find down there, and two, given that, they're not really going to want to operate on me, are they? So given neither of us wanted to waste any time playing charades again, what I've suggested is that he refer me into the local authorities, namely social services, as somebody in an exceptional position. Therefore, the regular channels not being open to me, were trying to circumvent the situation essentially, and set up a meeting between me and some bods from the council. And hopefully, as I said, what I want to do is talk generically about my circumstances, the practical side of things. Beyond that, the other news currently is something else I've been keeping very quiet, and I'm rather tentative about, is the fact that a law firm is seriously considering taking my case. They're a company which specialises in representing soldiers against the MOD. Now, whilst I've never been in the armed forces, we've discussed this, it has been confirmed to me that the technology inside of me is military technology, and without going into great detail here and now, all the information is there, all the links are there, and there's other information which again I won't regurgitate on this occasion. So I'm waiting to hear back from them. I fully expect, for the record, that they'll get jumped on. That generally happens. There's other examples I could give as to when this has happened historically. So there's the referral into the local authorities. There's the law firm looking at taking my case, and I've prepared a statement for the police too, whom I'm intending to visit shortly and waylay the criminal elements of my case to them. So really what I've done is I've broken it down so it's liable to be more manageable for anybody that does engage with me or involve themselves with me. I've instructed the law firm that essentially all I wish them to focus on is the technology, essentially, and using their expertise to get the Ministry of Defence to engage with us. So yes, this is stuff I'm working on myself, although I've made it clear that I'm in touch with other people in similar situations to mine. And beyond that, I've also had to cancel some trips away. I was due to travel north and out west as well to interview 2 or 3 people, but I've had to cancel that because I've been so incapacitated. The chap who owns a car I use is now going on holiday. He's going to be away for 2 weeks, so I'm not going to be able to travel to meet anybody in that time anyway. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to well, document the conspiracy that is my life, really. You know, I'm home alone for a couple of weeks. There's a lot happening. I'm liable to being, you know, hooking up with others at some juncture. So it's a case of sort of like just rolling with it on this one, basically. You know, covering what's going on. Shane's, you know, moving on in great strides with his YouTube channel. Obviously, the celebrity factor he's experiencing currently with Mr. Harvey has spurred him on no end, which is fantastic news because it's bringing people in that you know, clearly were oblivious to what it is a targeted individual deals with. And Brian is most definitely a targeted individual. But you know, I'll let Shane crack on with that for the time being. And yeah, I need to get the channel moving. I'm very aware of that. I do apologise again for having to disappear. I'm aware there's a lot of slagging going off currently as well, but I really don't want to be getting involved in it. I've had enough, to be honest. You know, it's getting very, very serious. You know, here and now, with regards to what I'm dealing with. It's just been horrific. My face has been so swollen, my head. So, pain aside, you know, again, I can't guarantee I'm going to be able to stay on my feet if I try to go to the supermarket. I was literally on the tarmac yesterday and couldn't get up immediately, at any rate. There's more to that, but again, I don't want to bleat, really. I want to crack on, but as is usually the case, you know, there's not a lot of fat for us to chew on, shall we say. Yeah, things haven't exactly fallen apart over recent weeks with me not being very mobile and paralysed with pain half the time. But it's not been easy. Well, it never is for any of us, is it? And I've never missed an appointment at Galvin's before, but I did a few days ago, so sorry Galvin, I do beg your pardon. I will be in touch, and yeah, my apologies. This is Galvin. Yeah, last time we were here, in exactly the same position, Galvin mentioned that it wasn't so bad this time, or so bad this time. I thought he was referring to my neck burns, which I sometimes shave with a Bic razor in between haircuts to save money. But it went right over my head. That's not what he was referring to. What he was referring to is the large lump on the top of my spine.
Absolutely right.
Isn't as bad this time. And what I should have explained is that's because I cut it off, or even large parts of it, after one of my GPs had refused to, citing that it was not a minor operation, it was too large. And then when I said, well, what about a referral? He said, how much do you smoke and drink a week? And I sat there wanting to say, how many pies do you eat a week, you fat bastard? But I didn't. I held my tongue and I got on with things. But I'm going to confront him. But I thought I'd straighten that one out while I was here.
Yeah, no, it's much easier to cut your hair now that that's gone, to be quite perfectly honest with you. It's a little bit, yeah.
You're not catching your elbows on it, eh? Anyway, this is Galvin signing off. Croydon Central, Crystal Palace fan, and they lost 5-0 last Saturday as well.
Only four.
Only four, was it? Sorry, I thought it was 5.
Only 4 at half time.
Anyways, we are signing off from Croydonia, Croydopolis, the Cronks. Ciao for now. And I've assumed the posture of a chimp due to the effects of the technology inside of me. It's restricting my movement 24/7 currently. Again, well done Tesh, man. You know, we've had nothing to do with the meetings he's organised. He's done it all himself, and I know at times he's mullered, absolutely mullered, and he's not up to doing it. But he's a very empathetic person, and I think he gets quite a lot from dealing with people directly himself. I mean, we can all find that gratifying. Personally, me, you know, right now, and for some time, I have been thinking it's probably best if I work in the background. Really, I don't know, to sum it up, somebody contacted me yesterday from abroad and said, I'm thinking of starting a TI group, and could you recommend any people in this part of the world, and what do you think? Well, I'm going to call her back essentially and say I don't recommend it. She's not a TI herself, and it's so difficult for us all. People are so desperate. Because I am somebody that has been able to help people, and so has done so on occasions, it's almost become expected of me. And then I get buckets of negativity if I decline, which, to be frank, I've been forced into doing for weeks now, intermittently all year. And last year, whilst that documentary was being filmed, absolutely moulard. Bit of a home from home, this park now. Spent a decade wandering around this, I have. At all times of year. Seemingly, when I first moved here as well, it was rarely used by anybody, even when the sun came out. Dog walkers, that was basically more or less it, and a few joggers. But it's been quite cool actually in the last 2 to 3 years. More like other commons I've spent time on in London, socialising and meeting people, really, when life was relatively normal, at least. Well, at least it felt like that at times. So a lot to say. Somebody I've been getting to know recently, it's just so bloody awful. Such a good man in the position he's in. Michael Barden, you know, exemplary service career, military career. and Michael's due in court shortly, facing charges of aggravated assault with a firearm. Michael carries a firearm. He reacted in a situation in which he was being gang-stalked, and these charges are the end result. He's facing 5 to 15 years in prison. So best of luck with the trial, Michael, and I'll show something of yours in this piece actually. This is Michael.
Hey everybody, how are you tonight? I haven't done a video in a few days. I don't know, it's been 3-4 days, but excuse me, I've been a pretty busy person lately. Still been researching. My eBay store has been really busy. We've been running a sale. I've been shipping quite a few items out. Shipped out over 400 items this month, in April, last month, and just been busy. One of the things that's been keeping me busy was some appointments to get this thing. Now, what this is a psychological evaluation. So this is an independent psychological evaluation that I had administered. I paid a lot of money to have this done. It was recommended to me by my attorney, and I understand that the justice system does not function normally. If you use common sense and you just think normally, you're not going to make it through the legal system very well. There's different ways they do things, and there's different communication, there's different, it's just like a different language. And they do things, they make different decisions for different reasons that we don't understand here in us that operate here in the real world. And I get that, but my experience so far with my attorney, in my opinion, there are some things that happened when I was arrested that they should be really going after, like the fact that I asked for an attorney 3 or 4 times and they just the police officers kept badgering me, asking me questions. I asked for an attorney. They wouldn't give me my phone. They told me I'd have one available when I went to jail. There'd be a phone book, I could call one. Never got an opportunity to call an attorney, you know. And some of the things that happened during the incident, that they should be looking at video footage, surveillance footage from the gas station that I was at, things like that, that I would think would be very important to get them to drop these charges. But instead, my attorney is going there. It's like they're completely ignoring the fact that I shouldn't have been arrested in the first place for this. They're just saying, well, these are serious charges, you could be facing all this time, and you should really just take the plea deal so you don't have to go to prison. And I'm like, well, we're bypassing the fact that I shouldn't be going in here in the first place. We need to look at a lot of the evidence and go, you know, and I'm like, why is this not operating like I would think it would? You know, you watch detective shows on TV, and you know, they just start digging in. Okay, well, if this happened, we can place this person at this time, we can get this video, and we can, you know. It doesn't happen like that in real life. They do things differently. So my attorney has been talking me into taking this plea deal, which if I don't take the plea deal and I am convicted, I will do mandatory minimum 5 years, maximum 15 years. I only have one charge. There were 3 charges originally. They dropped the other 2 because they, you know, I don't know why they dropped those. But, so these guys told me that if I get this psychological evaluation done, that it would benefit me in my case. And they never mentioned that they were going for a mental, they wanted to find something wrong with me to show why I did this, and that why they should show leniency on me for doing this, when in actuality that's not where we should be headed with this. We should be investigating the people that are involved in organized stalking and harassment. But as far as the justice system and the psychological world, gang stalking does not exist. Somebody following you, somebody slandering you and harassing you, that cannot exist in this world. And that if you observe anything like that, that you are clearly delusional. So I found the broken part in our system, and I found the reason why a lot of people have become incarcerated, or incarcerated in a mental facility, and controlled, managed, and manipulated because they spoke the truth about their reality, and their reality does not exist within the testing system of all of this. So I'm going to explain some of that. And I think what happened is I might have got myself immersed into this whole thing without thinking 20 steps ahead, but it's still working out in my favor. Not really in my favor, because I'm going to be punished for this, for doing what I'm doing. But I think I've made the decision to go ahead and submit this psychological evaluation. I am going to have to be evaluated again after this case. If I accept the plea deal, I'm going to have to check in with a psychiatrist. They're going to evaluate me. I might get wrapped up in the system, and they might try to throw me away in a mental facility. But there isn't really a way that you can completely understand the scope of something unless you become completely involved in it. And somebody that I admire that is doing something similar has inspired me to make this decision. And that person is David Voigts, a former Navy nuclear surface warfare officer. I think I got that right. But David found out about this program, what was going on, and what he needed to do to get himself put into the program, to do something about it. And man, that took a lot of integrity, that took a lot of self-sacrifice, that took true love for your country, true love for your Constitution, and a lot of grit to do something like that. You know, and I thought, well, okay, you know, David did that. He swore to protect the Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic, you know, and I did the same thing. I raised my hand and I swore to defend our Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I've always stuck to that, which is probably how I ended up getting targeted, because I saw some of our domestic enemies and I started speaking out about those people before a lot of other people started catching on to what was going on. Okay, so what I'm probably going to end up doing, and what I could do if I don't want the court system, the justice system, to have any idea that this report was ever made, I could just burn this thing, throw it out in the backyard, throw it in the trash, put it in the blender, whatever, and my $4,500 is gone, and this is gone, and there's never any trace of it. But I don't think that that would be the best thing to do for society and forward progress for targeted individuals, because this report is very telling. And I think that one of the biggest reasons for the slow progress for targeted individuals is because a lot of the information that a target needs to disseminate to the public is either embarrassing, it is incriminating, there's just a lot of things that happen to you that you would prefer not to pass that information on to somebody. And I think maybe what we need to do, what I'm doing, is I'm just going ahead and passing along information, personal information about my life, my personal life, and the events that are transpiring as I move forward in this program and I learn more about what is actually going on, who's involved, funding, things like that. I don't want to talk about this stuff online. I don't want to talk about this stuff to strangers. I don't want to tell people things that have happened to me. But if I don't, then other people won't get that information and be able to match it up with their information and say, yeah, I recognize this, I recognize this is the same thing that happened to me. 10,000 people see my video, 5,000 of them can identify with me, maybe start some kind of group because of the information that I disseminated. I made forward progress. It might hurt me initially for talking about my personal information and putting that out there, because that gives the perpetrators more information about me, more fuel for the fire, and a heads up on what I possibly could be doing and which way I'm going with this. But I think the overall outcome of me talking about a psychological evaluation that is connected to a court case, the benefit will be tenfold, for other people, because this is one of the key things right here that is holding people back from ending this.
So, yeah, what Michael's talking about, ending that is the TI, the Targeted Individual Program, of course, of which he's an unwitting, participant, for want of a better word, victim, survivor, of. And where he is where so many of us have been as well in the past, whereupon we've been confronted by the authorities and we've explained to them what it is that's happening, what's going on, and they say, you're imagining this. We say, I'm sorry, no we're not. And they say, yes you are, you're delusional. Then we're in something of a predicament, because if they're going to label you delusional, which they do automatically, you're then put up for assessment based upon your reality. As Michael put it, he's conveyed his reality. So in other words, to cut to the chase, he's seemingly made the decision to stand his ground with the authorities and saying, look, this was a direct result of me being gang-stalked. Also, there are so many other factors to his life, so many experiences he's had or encountered, which to his mind tie in, as it does with all of our cases really, all of us that are genuine. And many, many moons ago now, and, you know, blindly, but I was forcibly put in the same position that Michael's in. And because I didn't even know what a TI was, but I just stood my ground with regards to what was happening, and refused to sort of, like, you know, state why, because I didn't know exactly, precisely. I told them I could speculate, which I was happy to do, but give them a definitive answer, no, I couldn't. And Michael seemingly is at the beginning of a very long journey I've already made. And seemingly it's never ending either. 17 years ago, I was confronted by the authorities first time around. And here we are today. Everything's been accepted. I did spend months incarcerated, and it was a brainwashing exercise or a rinsing exercise. It was designed to break me, but in truth, you know, I think it's designed so you'll break yourself. But I don't really want to go into that factor at the moment, to be honest. I won't, I'll cut that out. As so many are aware, Michael is right, of course. You know, there is a targeting program. People are being gang stalked. People are being assaulted with directed energy weapons. And the end result, generally speaking, is to drive them into the position that Michael's in. And Michael, I'll repeat, I've undergone the journey you're about to embark on. And if I hadn't won an independent tribunal, roughly 2.5, 3 months into my incarceration, I am of the opinion that I would have been institutionalised. And maybe even still there, yeah, today, if I'd lived that long. However, I did. I got out, and I started to try and fight my cause. And at which time, I had no idea, none. I paused there when I said none, absolutely none, because I'd had suspicions, because of course, this stuff inside of me, I can feel it, but like anybody would, I wrote it off as other things. But yeah, I was to go on and find out about the technology too. And I've had to fight tooth and nail with that. Though as I've explained today, you know, in the now, it's been accepted. But yet, in all these years, I've had no medical treatment for anything. They've motioned to treat me for things several times. In other words, I'm referred, but nothing ever happens, nada. And I'm afraid the scenario Michael's in is that, you know, he's facing a corrupt system which has deliberately engineered the circumstances he finds himself in. He deserves some support, as much as we can give, which we know is minimal, ultimately. But it does help. And Michael can be found easily via an internet search. He's on both Facebook and YouTube, I know that, because I'm connected to him on both. He was a journalist in the American Air Force, actually, so you know, he's trained in videography and editing and multimedia. You know, he's got a vast array of skill sets actually, and he's put out lots of material himself. The video you watched is much longer than that. Taking in that milli alone, you'll get a clearer picture of the circumstances he's in, but Michael, like so many of us, has been, an activist for a number of years now, meaning that he's a prime target, even more so than just being a TI, because he's an outspoken TI, an intelligent TI. He's a targeted individual. He is not the criminal. The criminals are doing this to him. And I don't know if I put this in or not, I don't, because I am worried. Because I've dealt with this system. And again, as I've said, it was a very long time ago when I first encountered them. And if any, there were few members of staff that I was confronted by that knew anything about the TI program back then. And in a sense, because of their ignorance, I suppose it helped somewhat, because they were astounded and amazed at what I was explaining to them. But these days, excuse me, and the noise is because I can't swallow properly, my implants are so enlarged, it's ridiculous. Anyway, yeah, these days, I find it difficult to believe that that they're not aware. Excuse me. And therefore know what's going on and either turn a blind eye or participate. This is courage, real courage. And I wish there was some alternative advice I could offer. That I already haven't, that is, because I do speak with Michael over the telephone. And I understand his principles. I understand his conviction, his belief, not only in himself, but his innocence overall, really. The fact that this scenario was engineered. But like myself, again, and like so many of us, again, we are imprisoned in so many ways, mentally, physically, technologically, emotionally. And we'll never break out of any of these prisons that they've literally put us in, unless we face up to matters. But again, the system does not allow for this. Something else I can vouch for. Because, and it wasn't that long ago now, when I was last confronted by the authorities, each and every one of them accepted my circumstances, the evidence, the testimony, and that I desperately needed some help. But, as they do, declared that they weren't the appropriate people for me to be dealing with, given my problems. So therefore, they didn't want to be involved in my case any further. And I'm home alone again. I'm in my 5th week now where I've not been able to walk properly. And I do need crutches now. I'm not willing to submit to a wheelchair yet, but intermittently I'm going to need crutches. And this is because of the technology inside of me. I was thinking this morning, if they can't get you with these pills, which is just going to shut your mind down and turn you into somebody that can get through a day. That's what they do to you. You can get through a day, you can do the basics. But you care for little else, to be honest, other than coping with what these poisons are doing to you, physically and mentally. But this technology can achieve all the same end results. And I fight it every day of my life. And it is a battle of positive and negative energies. It'd be easy to get sucked in and swallowed up by it, the despair. "17 years since I encountered them. Everything has been proven." I'll quote the national press again. "All of your evidence has been confirmed, including the medical evidence. You're telling the truth, and the state is covering this up. However, it's unprecedented for us, but we cannot get the name of the authority that is censoring us." Michael's a veteran. And it's my opinion, because I honestly don't want to influence Michael's court case. I don't know him that well. I know of him, I know of his circumstances, and we've had some lengthy phone conversations, but he's a damn good man, I can tell you that, and a principled man. But it's my opinion that he's dealing with his former employers. The military are doing this, hence the police, and nobody else ultimately can do anything about it. Yeah, but there are at least two sides to everything, and I think in these circumstances, well, honestly, I believe there's collusion, and I just believe militaries around the world are colluding, and this is happening globally. They see it as the solution. But, you know, there's every possibility that isn't the case still. But some military's doing it to us, aren't they? I'm walking around with a full military rig up inside me. The Ministry of Defence is who we've got to look to for answers. Well, questions initially, but they're not known really, are they, for answering questions. But that's not to say that police aren't directly involved either, we know they are. And so ultimately, you know, it's a given, so are our governments. So essentially, Michael, you know, I've already said it to you privately, but you're the priority in this situation. I admire your principles, I admire your stance, but you're dealing with such a corrupt system, and I'm sure all other TIs would say the same to you. You know, get the best deal out of this situation for yourself. Even, you know, safe in the knowledge is that the targeting is going to continue. Things are wrong. The criminals seem to have control of everything. And we've got systems in place deliberately designed to manipulate people into committing a criminal offence. But essentially it's a stitch up. It's manipulation. It's like evidence is not admissible if it's obtained under duress. That's what Michael's saying. Given these circumstances, my evidence should be taken into account. And if it was, it counts as circumstantial evidence. And like all TIs, what he's saying is, there's masses of it, because this has been going on for so long. That was just an incident which occurred due to it. Anyway, I'm really struggling at the moment. I've made that clear. I should round this off because we've not had anything go up on the channel for a month now. But I'm stuck. I can make it out to the park and usually down to the supermarket to pick a small amount of supplies up and get back. And I'm waiting, of course, on the response to my doctor's request for a meeting with the local social services, where I'm really going to put myself in the same position as Michael is now, but without any charges or claims being made against me. It's the situation is reversed, but ridiculous too, because it's been going on for years. You know, it's okay for them to fabricate evidence, you know, drag me out of my bed in the early hours of the morning, lock me up in a secure unit for months, then it all to be proven to be based upon fabricated evidence. And then I get over all this, even accept, look, this is just a mess. Let's just get on with my life. I'm capable. I'll get back to where I was relatively quickly, and I don't have to spend years embroiled in legal cases and court cases. I'll just move on, you know. But no. It continued, just like it will continue for Michael, right up to this present day. You've only got to apply some logic to the situation, my situation, and it all just makes complete sense. A wall of corruption is what we're dealing with. Literally, they're just disposing of people. I mean, it's exceedingly brave of Michael to do what he's doing. And I can't say all, but I'd recommend all targets do likewise, because essentially they're going to do to us what they're going to do to us anyway, because as soon as our car's marked, that's it. You know, they just steamroll over people. But we're leaving testimony. We're leaving, you know, so much evidence, which just proves that the state is essentially using, you know, the penal system, the mental health system, anything they can, detrimentally. No, in a criminal fashion, really, to be honest. I don't think there's a new thing. I just think it's corruption. I just think it's those that have power using it in a perverse, corrupt fashion just to silence or get rid of whoever they wish. And in talking with Michael, one of the points that he's emphasised is that, to his mind, some of the experiences he's encountered in life, particularly in his childhood, are strong indicators that he's been stealthily trafficked. And he's questioning why they won't investigate these issues. You know, events surrounding them, people involved, etc., etc. And I'm saying that they won't, because if they do, these indicators could turn into confirmation that he has indeed been stealthily trafficked. Because I have, and so have others that I know personally now. And I'm afraid, very much afraid, that it's state-sponsored people trafficking, as I've said, historically too. It's endemic in society. And it is a Masonic system. And they do use the authority and the power of our institutions to perpetrate it. The military, the police, the social services, our schools. They see it as some sort of filtering system. And it wouldn't be so bad, would it? If it wasn't a satanic system. Because that's the reality. And we've got another one now, questioning his entire existence, questioning his life, the decisions he's made, becoming a soldier for one. I tend to agree with him in that, it's quite possible that his targeting really began when he was a journalist. Although there's plenty of indicators that it could well have been a lifelong thing too, but when it became overt, seemingly that could be the reason, because he did question things. And we had a soldier turn up at our TI meeting a couple of weeks back, and he'd driven down from the north of England, and people were saying, wow, that's quite some commitment you made there, quite some journey you made just to attend a 3-hour meeting, blindly largely, because it was the first one we'd had. And he explained that his targeting began when he was in the army, and he wholly believes, as a consequence of him becoming interested in conspiracy theories, getting excited about it, and talking to his colleagues, his mates basically. He says he overheard some officers saying, we'll have to sort him out. Hey presto, he's a TI. If Michael could see this through, all the way with them, and get them to accept that he was being gang-stalked, that he's a targeted individual, and that that's the reason he's confronted by the people that he is on the day that his trial is due to take place, which I believe is the 21st of this month. I'll have to get that confirmed, but I will. It would be a major result for all of us. But I've done it, people. I've won. They won't help you even beyond your winning, if you win. Yet, at any rate, anyway. Just listen to Shane's story, the frustrations he's had, the fact he's not getting any responses now, after all that activity. I did grow up in the Midlands, predominantly, and we have a saying there for all this sort of thing, and it does my head in. And it does, the frustration. The ridiculous conversations you have with professionals. Yeah, hi Kathy. You're going through this too. Michael now does live with Kathy Aston, a well-known talented individual from Texas. The trials and tribulations of us persecuted people. Good Lord.